Welcome to the Christian Kirkley Show, where we deep dive into investing, business, and life. Really, the point of this podcast is to, one, teach financial literacy to people that are just getting started or want to learn about finances, and also teach investing concepts that are a little bit more advanced to people that are looking to take that next step. Maybe buy your first rental property, or let's say you've bought several rental properties and you're maybe looking to learn more advanced concepts. We're going to be covering beginner concepts and we're going to be covering advanced concepts as well. And I'm just going to talk about some things that I have going on in my personal life as well as my business life. So, looking forward to it, and thank you for tuning in. We are going to just start off with a quick intro about myself. So, I originally grew up in Pensacola, Florida, and then from there I moved to Pulaski, Tennessee. It's a small town, really in the middle of nowhere. Moved there with my grandparents. Super grateful for that time. Didn't grow up with a lot, but our house was filled with love. Learned a lot of good values, family, hard work, honesty, transparency, all these good things that really helped me out through my life. I'm blessed to have had good values instilled in me. But like I said, we didn't have a lot of resources. My grandparents and my mom, they all worked really hard. I learned a lot of values of hard work from them, but I also learned some things, obviously, what not to do, right? You know, everyone's going to learn what not to do from their parents, some things. And I'm honestly blessed for that. It's been great. I don't want to look at it as a handicap. I want to look at it as rocket fuel, right? I'll give you a little example. And I hope my grandpa doesn't mind me sharing this, but he was a cop and he worked really hard after the military and he saved up a good amount of money. And he had all of his money, a lot of his money in the stock market, and the stock market crashed. And it was really hard for him and my grandma, and they went back to work. So I learned a lot of concepts of what not to do with money. My mom, she struggled with money a lot. She's doing great now, but we grew up. It was pretty tough growing up. Didn't know my father. That was always hard. And whenever I got to high school, I was in and out of trouble. You know, thankfully I didn't join any gangs, but I barely graduated high school. Senior year, I actually was gonna be a video game designer. I told myself because I played video games and stuff, right? Like, and then the Navy recruiter came by, and he was like, "Yeah, you get to travel the world and you get to do all this cool stuff." And you know, I loved culture and history and all these other things like that. I was a huge nerd about that kind of stuff. So I was like, "Huh, maybe this guy's onto something." Heard him out, took the test, didn't really do that great. They were like, "Oh man, no worries. You can qualify as what's called a journeyman." I was like, "Oh wow, what's that?" And he was like, "You actually get to go and you get to pick the job that you want." And I was like, "Huh, well, I wanted to be a RP, a religious programs person. Thought I was gonna do missionary work and do stuff for God in the military." And he was like, "No problem, man. You can be a journeyman, and then from there you can actually go and choose your job." Well, he got me on that one. Not gonna lie. Got to boot camp, and they were like, "All right, raise your hand if you're a journeyman, or you got told that you're gonna be a journeyman." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me, right? Like, you know, I get to choose my job." And I'm thinking in my head, and they were like, "Well, you got screwed," and I'm like, "What?" And what we're really called is undesignated, and pretty much what that means is that they just put you where they want you, or in other words, you're pretty much a slave to the ship, right? You do busy work, you do all this craziness, and then like halfway through boot camp, we're going through some of our final medical evaluations, and I'm looking at this book, and it's supposed to have numbers in it. It's just dots, and they're like, "Come on, man!" You know, there's people in line waiting to go. They're pushing, "Hurry up!" Like, what are the numbers? I'm like, "What numbers? What are you talking about?" And they're like, "All right, yeah, step to the side." It's like, shit, dang. So they pull me in this room and they're like, "Look, man, you can't be a journeyman because the ship has red green lights that are used for some of the steering and directing the ship. You'll crash the ship." I'm like, "Well, shoot, what's gonna happen?" I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go home. They're like, "All right, well, you can pick between these four jobs in the entire Navy. We got openings for these." That's not true, but that's what they told me. And I was like, huh, well, boatsmen's mates, that's the only one I know what they actually do. They handle all the lines and the anchors and stuff. I was thinking like Popeye, right? That's what he did. I was gonna be cool like him. And then some dude came in after I already picked, and he was like, "Huh, I'm surprised you didn't pick Seabees or a steel worker. Those are a pretty interesting group of guys." I didn't know that steel workers were Seabees. My great grandpa worked with the Seabees in the Navy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I want to do that one." So I did that. I got back to my division, and all the guys were like, "Oh man, what? You got CB, dude? I wanted to be a CB." So I went from like worst to the worst position job opening to like one of the cool ones. Because CBs, they don't go on ships. And all my Navy friends to this day still give me crap and are like, "Oh, you're so lucky because I never had to do a ship deployment." Our deployments, they would fly us out on an airplane, they'd drop us off, Japan, Guam, wherever. We'd spend 6 months instead of 9 months, and we'd go back to California. It was great. Um, so got out of boot camp, was in Gulfport, Mississippi, had a good time there, good time, good food, good people. Then I got orders that I was going to be in California. Super stoked about that. And I knew that in California they went to deploy to Asia Pacific, and I knew that my battalion in MCB4 was going to go to Japan. Stoked about that. Went out there, had a blast, and went back to California, lived it up, and really that time frame in my life opened up my mind to the possibilities, and that there was more out there than just America and just the way that people did things here. And it really lit my fire for travel. I've always loved travel. I would watch the Travel Channel where they'd go try all these crazy foods like Andrew Bourdain and all these Anthony Bourdain and Zimmerman and all these crazy people would do all this fun stuff. And I was like, wow, this stuff's real. Like, I really like this. Like, how do I do more of this? And I realized, I was a grown up at that point. I was like 19, grown up. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to cost money because the Navy's sending me to these places. But whenever I get out, it's going to be like $1,500 to fly to Japan. So I'm going to need some money. So I started really taking financial literacy seriously after I had my party phase. I was in California, lived it up, had a good time. Was paycheck to paycheck for a while. I was like, okay, cool. I need to figure this out. Whenever I was 20, I really buckled down. I bought like $6,000 worth of stock. Most of them tanked, right? Like I bought like some marijuana stocks and some other craziness. I bought like Kraft Foods and some other ones. And like half of them tanked, but a few of them did really well. I bought some Tesla stock that did excellent, and that was a blessing. And then I bought some Nvidia stock, and I was like, huh, this stuff's pretty crazy. Like I almost made more than I made in the military in a short amount of time. I might need to take this seriously. So I started really dialing in on that, putting a good chunk of my savings and my paycheck into investing. And I didn't even really consider real estate as a possibility because I was in California and it was so expensive out there. But towards the time that I was getting out of the military, I was like, okay, Huntsville, Alabama is booming. My people are about an hour away. I was dating my current wife now, and her people were about an hour away. I was like, I think that's going to be a really good place to set up shop and invest and plant the roots, right? So, did my research, made sense. Came out here, rented for a little bit, then we bought a house. We actually house hacked. We rented out other rooms that in the house that we bought to other people. We used the first time home buyer program. We got zero down. It was like a cheap house, man. We were gonna go with something expensive, like 225, expensive in Alabama, right? That was gonna get us a 4 bed, 2 bath, 2,300 square feet in a nice area in the suburbs. And then I woke up the next morning and God was speaking to me. He was like, "You don't need all that. Like, think about something a little bit more affordable." Because that was going to cost us like $2,300 a month, which was like towards the top of our budget. And I was like, okay, cool. I hopped on Redfin, and the first thing I saw, it was a house that made sense, 169, and it was only like $1,300 a month. It was great. We secured a 6% interest rate. Like I said, we moved in. We started renting out rooms, and that covered our mortgage because we rented out 2 of the 4 bedrooms. And then I was like, huh, okay, so we're covering our mortgage doing this. I think we could actually profit. So I had one room that was an office and one room that was a gym. And I was like, okay, let me combine these. and then I had my office gym. Then we rented out the other one, and then eventually I just packed up my gym equipment and my office stuff, and I rented out that last one. We were really cash flowing heavy then. And I was like, okay, cool. I need to copy and paste this. So I used the first time home buyer program in my name. Mackenzie did the first one, my wife. And then like 6 months later, I did one in my name after I started working at Wells Fargo because I was doing sales before that. And we moved into this new house, the one that we're in right now. We're building a house right now on 5 acres. We're building a nice one, but we're still in this one from about a year and a half ago. It's 1,830 square feet, so like 18,000 or 1830, yeah, 1830. It was 4 bedrooms. We made it 5 bedrooms. We converted this area down here, which was the den. We converted this into the 5th bedroom, and we added a bathroom. We put in about $22,000 worth of work into it. I did a lot of sweat equity, did a lot of it myself. Just learning the ropes. I hire people out now. But we got it appraised 6 months later, and it appraised for 315. So we bought it at 195. We had the seller cover closing costs. We financed the closing costs into the loan. They covered part of the closing costs actually, and then we refinanced it at 315. So we had a huge amount of equity. So I got a HELOC of 50K, and I used that HELOC to start flipping houses. So we bought a rental. We did buy the room on that one. We got a good bit of, we got like several more rentals. Found a way to scale, started flipping houses. Now we've done a couple flips. We've got several on our that are renovating right now. We are really scaling that portion of things. And yeah, that's kind of just been the investing journey so far. I love trading and investing. I love stocks. I love futures, options, real estate. I'm a huge finance guy. I'm using the GI Bill right now for free to go to school and learn finance. Honestly, not trying to sound like conceited or anything. A lot of that stuff I do know. Stats and accounting have been helpful. Accounting too was like kind of BS. A lot of it was very theoretical, I want to say, but stats has been very useful. But yeah, this is just quick intro. I don't want to go too long on this first intro video about myself, but going forward, we're going to talk about some different investing concepts, like we do some comparisons, like investing in real estate versus the stock market, different business trends, business ideas. Of course, we're going to have guests come on here and there. It's primarily just going to be me giving investing education, but I do definitely want to have guests as well. But yeah, that's it. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and always remember to enlighten and empower.